Well, hi, I'm excited to be here. I'm your host, Jennifer Hough. We're here at the Thriving Life podcast. I'm so glad you guys are here. We love to do these things live, but today I'm particularly excited to just be in this journey with you because I remember asking way back when I ran a very large integrative health clinic. Um, as I started to see that and feel inside my body that there was more to life, I started to ask myself these questions. I'm wondering if you've asked yourself the same. Uh, do I have gifts or superpowers? And if I do, are they special to me or are they normal? How do they work? I remember back then being in front of one of my clients, and I had had terrible migraines for 3 years, and every bone in my body just wanted to transcend and transmute and get rid of them. And they were awful. I mean, there was the migraine, which was frightening by itself, but then there was the fear of getting them. There was the fear on top of that. And I remember in the middle of the worst migraine I had ever had, that first of all, this economist, me, this accountant, me, this person that had worked for a big multinational, me, all of a sudden was able to take myself out of my body and not feel the pain. I had no idea how I did that, first of all, which is one superpower that we have. We have an amazing ability as human beings to be able to do that. That's how some people, and I did, go to the dentist without needing freezing, right? So, but one of the things that happened was that my my yearning to overcome the pain that I just wanted to die from these migraines, um, my yearning to overcome superseded almost the trying so hard to fix it. And I got into this incredible receiving mode, and I knew to ask myself the question, is the root cause of this issue even mine? Now, it wasn't that question is so unique. You've probably heard it from other people. But what was interesting is that I heard a question that I thought was in my mind. The question of which changed my life because I realized in that instant that it wasn't mine. The entire migraine scenario was coming because of an ancestral thing in my father's lineage. And this is what I saw. And I thought, how am I seeing this? And you got to get, my background is in math. My background is in science. My background is it's in the idea that it's so funny when that happens. And I was running my clinic. And what happened in that I didn't think that I was learning sciences. I was learning biology. And I had a lot of what I would call woo friends. People that talk to angels and, all these incredibly intuitive people. And I thought, yeah, no, I'm always going to be the person that understands numbers or, even though I went to school, but, I got a double major in social psychology. So I understood people, but I like deconstructing things. I wanted to understand the science of how did I just hear the right question? It wasn't about the question being brilliant, although I use that question all the time. Is this even mine? It was about how did that happen? And then someone sent me, this is way back when, right? This is when Abraham Hicks first started. Someone sent me some channeled information. I just rolled my eyes. I was like, oh my God, you have to be kidding me. And I rolled my eyes at this channel. But then I listened to the message and I thought, "Oh my god, this is brilliant. This makes perfect sense. I can't believe that someone is talking about this." And I just knew that that this person who was channeling the information, I thought, "Well, that's kind of what I did." I stepped outside of my body and I brought through information I couldn't possibly have known. And of course, the information I brought it through about my ancestry, my father's ancestry, and all the pressure they put on themselves, in the seeing of it and in the knowing of it and in the being seen by my own self, I never had a migraine since, you know? And I realized that, I from the get-go, from way back when, I thought of myself as a pretty logical person, a pretty rational person. I don't know if you did. I don't know how you felt. I didn't come from a long lineage of seers like a lot of people. I didn't come from the world of intuitives or a lot of my friends having all that stuff happening. What about you? And so as a result, I realized then, so everybody just breathe for a moment. I really want to drive this home. Really want to drive this home. That we are we are actually made to have those abilities. We are designed to have those abilities. Life is actually not meant to be difficult. It's not meant to be difficult. We have incredible, what I'm going to call multidimensional DNA. So, how did I come up with that? Because I knew you could deconstruct anything after what happened with the migraines. I've had so many miraculous outcomes happen since then, from being able to see the energies around people to being able to look at someone holographically and see their entire future trajectory based on the choices they've made and see their past and what's actually contributed to who they are now and whether they're in alignment or not. I I'm sure I've had a thousands and thousands of appointments with leaders and bridge builders from all over the world to be able to do that. But I'm very clear that I'm not special. That's why one of our taglines is the time for gurus is over. So what happened? What happened to me? So I'm studying biology, I'm studying genetics, I'm studying epigenetics, I'm studying all these things as a holistic practitioner. And all of a sudden what comes through me is, wait a second. I have characteristics as a human being, and think about this yourself. We have characteristics as human beings, eye color, our height. I'm very tall. I'm 5'10", curly hair, all the things. And we have these genetically, let's say, there's a very few of our characteristics that aren't overcomable. I would say there's 7% of our genetics that are predetermined, like I was gonna have curly hair or greeny brown eyes or whatever. But 93% of what goes in your body can be freed up. You can actually transcend your human genetics. You can actually transcend the genetic future trajectory that you've been told is just inevitable because you inherited it. But then I got very, very clear. I got very, very clear that if we have double-stranded DNA, that helix that has all the peptides that combine together and do all the things to give us this three-dimensional reality, and we're 99.139% not three-dimensional. So in other words, you're just seeing the movie that's the result of all of the production. The movie is your physicality, but the production that's going on behind the scenes is quarks and waveforms and gravitational pulls and thoughts and intents and responses through entanglement in physics. All of these quantum physical powerful interactions are going on that make up 99.139% of what you see in 3D. And I thought, well, if we have three-dimensional DNA, we obviously must have multidimensional DNA. And I realized in that moment that, in fact, that multidimensional DNA gives us characteristics, the characteristics of which are available to every human being. And those characteristics, when I originally brought that through, which was about 12 years ago, we did Innate Abilities 1.0, which was looking at the multidimensional genetics that give us our multidimensional characteristics, and that human beings come complete with generally about 24 innate abilities. But those innate abilities were created in order for us to be able to be fluid in life, to be able to not just survive. If we are creator consciousness in human form, and I know you've heard this said before, but listen up. If you're creator consciousness in human form, if you literally were creation's good idea, and creation just wants to have an experience of itself through you as a three-dimensional being, you're like in this beautiful feedback loop, spiraling the universe forward through your experiences. Then you have all of the abilities at your fingertips. And sometimes you get stubborn. That's very three-dimensional. And sometimes you want things the way that you want them, very three-dimensional. Sometimes you want to feel safe or protected or whatever it is, that's very three-dimensional. That's not going to make you thrive. That's not going to have you live in overflow when you try to control. That's not a superpower. That's a very three-dimensional way of being. But that three-dimensional way of being, when you behave from that position, you actually tell consciousness, the 99.139% of you that's responding to your behavior, thinks that that's what you want more of. And then that's how we live. And I thought, well, then is it really about excavating, not doing that anymore, analyzing why we have all these self-sabotaging habits? Is it really about what a whole body of knowledge says? And you got to get, I'm a very curious person. I want to be free. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in analysis. And what happened is, as I started to embody innate abilities with deep humility, because remember, economist, accountant, social psychologist, definitely not someone, my dad's an entrepreneur, my mom's a teacher, okay? This is not like, I am not born of some guru-like lineage. But I wanted real people like you and I to be able to have the abilities that allow us to channel information, which everyone can do. You probably are already doing it and you don't even know. There is another ability that I was just writing about, and it's the ability, that's one of our innate abilities, is to be able to bring through wisdom from from the people, from some of the people that people channel, some of the beings that people channel already. You could channel Bashar or Abraham Hicks. You could channel a master like Yeshua or like the Magdalene, Buddha. You could bring that wisdom through. You can. There's a methodology, which were actually, I deconstructed our multidimensional DNA. That's what I did. After I realized that everyone has these abilities, I deconstructed what had to happen in order for each of us to embody those abilities. Because when you have these abilities, and you'll hear me talk about them in a second, there is no need to fight other people, to resist what's happening to you. There's no need to engage in polarity in politics, because in these abilities, we transcend the need to activate and give energy to that which isn't working. In fact, one of the innate abilities we'll be talking about in an upcoming program, including channeling, one of those innate abilities is the ability to use the polarity to supercharge your clarity, deeper knowing, and your ability to be completely in flow and magnetic to all that you desire. So imagine with every piece of polarity that happens in this world, the polarity now activates and more deeply brings you to your flow state, to your zone, to your knowingness, that your superpowers are amplified every time there is polarity. In fact, that is one of the superpowers we are going to be talking about. It is total freedom, as Holly is saying in our audience. It is. We don't need to even debate carry ourselves. So when it comes to this multidimensional DNA, the instructions, the codes, let's call them. I like to call them codes. It's like we're codified. Those codes are in the 99.139% of all of who we are. The way to bring them through, once you have someone, you have to be working with someone who's actually embodied the codes. It's exponentially easier when someone has already embodied those codes to be working with them to actually bring them through and embody them yourself. It's hard for someone who's never experienced them to actually talk about them, but talking about them is not what I'm into. I don't think you're into that either. What we're into at the Wide Awakening is actually assisting you to be able to build a bridge, to have your ability to, I'm just talking about 3 of the 12 that we're going to be talking about in innate abilities, but one of them is to channel. Another one is having, this is the one I was going to bring up earlier that I didn't quite complete my thought, which is around the fact that you have a field around you, an energy field, much more than your aura. It's been measured scientifically. This is not a woo concept. But imagine that the frequency of that field could transmute polarity, density, arguments, someone else's mood, the information that comes your way, that it may be detrimental to your emotional state. Imagine that it gets transformed by your field before it ever reaches you. And imagine that you can do that. Imagine you just walked around like a transmutational field that shifted the energy of whatever your field touched before it ever got to you as a 3-dimensional human. People change their mood, they change their mind, they change their way of thinking just by the information that your field carries. You can do that too. I do it all the time. In fact, it's my normal. It's funny how people basically don't dare talk to me about the polarity in politics or their righteousness. People aren't interested in gossiping around me for some reason. And the reason is because my field, literally, people know that they're changed when they get within about 15 feet of me. I wonder if you could do that. Of course you can do it. So what is the process of doing that? I can't, obviously, there's a whole program about it. So in this short time that we have today, we're not going down that road. But let's just say, first what happens is we activate the doorway. You have to see exactly what it looks like before you know it's possible. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you do it. So imagine being in a place where everyone is channeling that never thought that they could. Or if you already channel some things, you're bringing through way more than you were before. Imagine that. Imagine that there's a dream that's dreaming you, and the dream that's dreaming you is a co-conspiracy. It's a synergy of the essence that is your soul, combining with the trajectory of the universe, combining with the trajectory of the environment, of society, of every blade of grass, of every star in the sky. And that the dream that's dreaming you, when you're in alignment with that, you become so incredibly magnetic to that which is needed in order to fulfill on that and feel so fulfilled by that journey. It's that niggling feeling that you often feel and I often feel, that there's something more, there's something calling. Yeah. That's an ability to be able to ongoingly, evermore, make your new normal, that you only live within the dream that's dreaming you, so that you're constantly in the spiral of that which would come your way. You've all had, I've had, I mean, I have that all the time. You know, I had this dear friend from England through which I met one of our listeners right now, come Yost, named Mark Anastasi, that I love, that I haven't talked to in 20 years, but he changed my life and he never knew it. And I described to him that he and his wife, when they brought me to England to speak, which I wasn't going to go because it just didn't make any logical sense. Again, when you're living the dream that's dreaming you, you do the things that don't make logical sense. But how do you know what you should do and what you shouldn't do? Well, when you're in the dream that's dreaming you, you just know. And you consistently know, and you're never outside of the knowing. And here I am 20 years later, this person, I haven't seen him in like 15 years. I haven't even talked to them. And I love these guys. And I got to thank them. And now we're looking at working together again, just like it was yesterday, except there's even more love. The dream that's dreaming you causes that stuff to happen. And when you're married with it, when you actually go through the activation and then you experience it and can name it and have the experience of it firsthand. And then there's a third step, which is going out and deliberately doing a specific kind of practice that allows you to bring it through your body such that you cannot do anything else but these superpowers. That's the process. Everyone has this. No one is immune unless you want to spend the rest of your life surviving, trying to beat life up, being in a wrestling match with life, trying to cajole people, convince people, trying to enroll people in the beliefs that you have, trying to make people not upset, working hard at all of those things, carrying your finances, all of that stuff basically says to consciousness that you're not really interested in your transcended superpowers or innate abilities, that multidimensional DNA that would have you live a transcendent life. Some of you are struggling a lot and really in a lot of pain. Some of you are not, but it's like, oh my God, I want that competitive advantage. Are you kidding me? I want all of them. And it really is about letting go. Yeah, but that's not how you get your superpowers. How you get your superpowers is that the first step is to know they exist. So we've done that. The second step is to go on the experience. And I want to tell you that we have a masterclass coming up about the science of this, okay, that you can register for. It is free. It's on June 19th. So, and you can register for it at absolutely no charge. So, and the link is in the comments if you want to register. But more importantly, on July the 19th, let me talk about innate abilities. We're only taking 100 well, 100 people for this class. Okay, so we're only taking 100 people for this class, and it is going to fill, I promise you. In this program, Innate Abilities, these innate abilities were birthed from the idea that necessity is the motherhood of invention, that in fact, in these times of great change where there's deep intensity and everything is moving multiple times faster because the polarity is birthing more solutions into this entangled universe. Entanglement theory says that you can't have a problem without a solution. It doesn't happen in time, they happen concurrently. And so the speed at which we can catch up to these creations is just beyond. The people that have fun are going to have the innate abilities to be able to orchestrate beyond the three-dimensional skills that allow us to survive, like reading a GPS or doing your taxes. I'm talking about being an embodied superhuman. And that's what we're going to be talking about in Innate Abilities. If you're part of our already community, Agents of Awakening, you will get a discount code. And if you're not part of that community, it is the deal of the century. It's 3 hours. It's 6 Saturdays. And yes, there will be replays. And imagine that basically for 3 hours with someone who channeled multidimensional DNA and is going to help you have your superpowers. Generally, we're going to download 3 per Saturday in 3 hours, 1 per hour. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to give you very specific homework over the week, and you're going to watch your life get easier. And that is basically one of them. It is going to save you so much time. It is going to expand. One of the things we're going to do that I forgot to tell you about, oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you guys that one of the most extraordinary innate abilities, flight school graduates are part of the Agents of Awakening. Sharon, you can reach out to me. You have my email. I'll send you the discount code, but it is the link that's being shared in the comments. What I will share with you, you guys, is that one of the most important shifts in consciousness that's happened, even my producer is going to like this one, is that those of us who have big hearts, that have deep passion, that love, that are here to build bridges for humanity, for whatever realm that you're passionate about. Those of you that are those people, the ones who know that there's something more to life, that the world doesn't have to be so intense, that the pendulum doesn't have to swing so far, and that you want to be a part of building what's desired, what you can feel is possible through your everyday. You don't have to be Gandhi, and you certainly don't have to be me either. I don't care what your piece of the puzzle is, but for those of you that have felt that way, that calling, I know that for some, money kind of has been, there's something more for the realm of abundance and wealth. And there has been a quantum leap. We're not talking about, oh, let's do some work on abundance consciousness. No, that's not what we're doing. One of the most important innate abilities we're going to partake in is we are going to do that quantum leap, understanding that the asking of people like you and people like us, the bridge builders, the access to wealth has shifted drastically. The asking of all of us has created a paradigm that transcends what's happened about money in the past. And we're actually going to activate that. And yeah, I think we're doing that maybe on the 3rd day. It starts on July 19th, you guys. Go to the page. When you go to the page, you'll see all the details. The Innate Abilities page that's in the comments. So guys, that probably is one of them. There's probably 3 or 4 that are the most important. That is one of the most important. There are 12 of them. What I suggest you do, mark your calendar for July 19th. What I suggest you do is you go to the Innate Abilities page and you look at all the innate abilities. Listen to my video. It's probably one of the most important, it probably is the most important program we've done for years. Aside from the last quantum leap was pretty epic. But it's an extrapolation. It's an extrapolation of that quantum leap program that we did. You do not have to be special. I was not special. Nobody has to be special. If you are pretty hooked into your innate abilities, this will blow your mind. If you aren't hooked into your innate abilities, we're going to actually give you a taste through Innate Abilities 1.0 if you're new to this. If you're not new, you've probably already taken the first Innate Abilities, the 1.0. And I cannot wait to see you there, you guys. I'm telling you. For those of us that do this together, it literally is going to cause a seismic shift in the world of bridge building and the world of creating momentum in what we know is possible. So our 111 people for this program, it's 111 people, not 100, 111 people. So, so guys, can't wait to see you there. And come to the free masterclass. Again, come to the free masterclass and learn some more, but sign up because it is going to fill up. I promise you, it's going to fill. I am talking to all of my friends who are leaders that have people like us, and it's going to fill. And I want you guys all there. Love you too so much. Remember, we are shifting our day for our podcast live. We're shifting it. Put it in your calendar on repeat every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're having another 30-minute conversation about something epic and juicy. We'll probably start deconstructing some of the innate abilities over the next 3 weeks, so that you'll understand what we're more. Not so you'll understand, so that we'll open the doorways to the upcoming innate abilities. So when you sign up, you'll just be already in the flow when you listen to the upcoming podcasts. Okay. So come to the Thriving Masterclass, the Science of Thriving Masterclass on June 19th. And regardless, sign up for your innate abilities so that you're in already. And I love you guys so much. Big time. And thank you for being a part of today. I appreciate you so deeply. I look forward to next Friday, not next Saturday, next Friday at 1 p.m. when we do our next interaction together and talk about what's possible for humanity and what's possible in the land of overflow from the point of view of the physics of thriving. All right, you guys. Big squishy hugs. Love you.